Okay, here we go, starting another week of learning. Today we're going to be shifting from Module 1 into Module 2, and basically that means we're moving from sentence level and parts of speech to looking at paragraphs. So this is going to be a really important part of our course, and so we will jump right into it. So if you checked out the website already this morning, you'll see there's already one video up there from my good friend Sean from Smart English, who lays out some of the basic important ideas when it comes to writing a correct paragraph. So I wanted to also look at this from another perspective, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a bit of an extended metaphor. Now, a metaphor is when you compare one thing directly to another thing. And in English, and in particular in literature, metaphors are commonly used by writers to create a powerful impact on their reader and to be able to frame things in an artistic sense. So you're making a comparison. So we're going to do the same thing here in looking at how you should be building the structure of paragraphs by doing a comparison, a metaphor between paragraphs and building a house. So first of all, I want to give credit to my friend Stuart Kimoto, who is another instructor here at VIU, and he often will come into my class and give this lecture about what I now call Kimoto-san's paragraph house. So let's jump straight into this. Kind of an interesting thing to do here is to start off by answering these questions. So if we think about building a house, what is the purpose of a house? So the purpose of a house is to protect the people who are inside of the house. So what is the most important part of your house? If you said the roof, you're correct. And so if you're thinking in terms of writing your paragraph, you also need a roof for your paragraph. And the roof of your paragraph will be the topic sentence. So topic sentences are used to clearly tell your reader what the purpose of your paragraph is going to be. So that's one of our key words. You'll remember that we've already learned about the 6 pillars of writing in this class. We've got the ABCs, right? Accuracy, brevity, clarity. But we've also got PAF, which stands for purpose, audience, and format. So seeing this word jump up again shouldn't surprise us, right? So good. So this is the first question answered. The most important part of the house is the roof, and if you're writing a paragraph, your roof is your topic sentence, which clearly states the purpose, what you're trying to do by writing the paragraph. So then if we think about building a house, the next, we're not doing it logically. In a perfect world, you always are going to start your house from the ground up, right? But this isn't perfectly accurate for comparison with paragraphs because you don't start writing from the bottom of a page, you start from the top of the page. So that's why we're talking top down here. Roof first. So then what if we move to our next question, what holds a roof up? So what holds this part of your house up? Obviously, in order to have a roof on your house, you need walls. And if you're thinking about building a house, how many walls do you need in order to build a house? Now, if you're thinking in terms of carpentry, obviously you need at least 4, right? If you're thinking in terms of paragraphing, you will need at least 2 solid walls. And so what this means, this equals 2 logical supporting examples. Okay, so this is very obvious. You start with your topic sentence, and then you need to provide supporting points, which is exactly what Sean also said in his video about paragraph structure. So I like to say 2. If you are writing a longer paragraph, it might be 3, could even be 4, like a traditional house. So you need to have at least 2 to 3 logical supporting examples. Okay, so then the next kind of thing that we could use to talk about this metaphor is when we're building a house, how do we make everything kind of stick together? So the answer here would be you need, nails or screws, what carpenters call fasteners, to join everything together. So in terms of writing, these would be our transitional cues, or we could call them, uh, linking words. Or if you want to get down to the grammar term, we're talking about conjunctions here. Okay, so some examples, you might start by saying something like firstly, right? So immediately, and then a comma, and then you'd go to, obviously, secondly. You could say something like another key point is, all of these little phrases that we use, they kind of are used to kind of glue your sentences together to make them flow together. And as we move forward with paragraph writing, you will see that there are different types of paragraphs. We're going to ask you to write a descriptive paragraph. We're going to ask you to do some summaries. We're going to ask you to do some analytical paragraphs. We're going to ask you to do cause and effect writing or comparative writing. So just in that brief span there, I pointed out 5 different types of paragraphs, or 5 different types of purposes that your paragraphs might have. And we will build up a growing list of these transitional cues, or what we also call linking words, that will help us. So in your notebook, you should start a fresh page that says transitional cues for paragraphing, and then all of them should, flow down the page, until you've got a huge, almost like mini dictionary for yourself to help you when you're in need, and all of the writing that we're going to be doing in this class will always be open book. So if you're doing a learning check, and you'll notice if you check the syllabus, our first learning check is coming up in week 4. So it's not this week, but next week you'll have a learning check, which is just my terminology for a test, right? But it'll be open book. So you can, if you organize your notes in your notebook intelligently, this will help you to speed up your ability to take the tests. And one thing you should note about the tests is they will be timed. So you will only be able to access, and sorry, not access, but you'll only be able to work and then submit within a certain time window. So having things well organized is a good idea. Okay, final question here. In talking about our paragraph house, or Kimoto-san's paragraph house, what keeps everything firmly in place in terms of your house? Obviously, this is going to be the foundation. So in terms of our paragraph writing, your foundation would be equal to your wrap up sentence. And there are traditional wrap up cues, or summary cues that we can use to tell the reader, hey, we're coming to the end of the sentence, or the end of the paragraph here, or the end of the essay here. So I'll just write a few of them down in summation. And they're always going to have that comma afterwards. We use this comma. You notice there's a comma after all of these types of linking elements, right, of these transitional cues. That's a classic correct way to write these types of sentences. When you have a cue, then you put a comma, then you start your first clause, and normally it would start with your subject. So I'll just throw a few more of these on there. In summation, to finalize, to wrap up. In conclusion, this is maybe the most common one. To conclude. So there you go. We've got how many there? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, let's do one more. All right, so that gives you a strong starting list for that you should add to your new page of notes for your transitional cues. And I would even do categories like column-based categories. So on the left, you might say establishing order. That would be words like first, second, third, next, after that. Then on the next one, you might have some summary cues, and then you make the list in summation to finalize to wrap up, so on and so forth down the list. Then you might write comparison cues. So by putting them in columns that are organized into their kind of role or their job, you're helping to make your notes even more effective in terms of being able to help you quickly access the answer that you need. So you could kind of visualize it. If you think about this simple two-dimensional kind of paragraph house that we've built in our minds, you've got the roof at the top. That's your topic sentence. It states your purpose. Then you've got two or maybe even a third wall. Now the walls, those are your supporting ideas. Now keep in mind as you're joining it all together, you need to use correct fasteners or correct transitional cues to link it all together. Things like firstly, secondly, another key point is in comparison, another similar point on the other hand. These are all transitional cues that kind of guide the reader, tell the reader what you're doing and how the points connect to each other. When we end up talking about analytical paragraphs, what you'll see is that there's actually a triad, I call them, that go together. I call it a triad of support, and that would be your idea, an example, and then some sort of academic proof, some evidence from an expert that all support that point. So you'd have 1, 2, 3 to establish your supporting point, your idea, the example, and then the citation, we call it. And then you need to have a transitional cue moving into your second supporting idea, example, and citation, and then maybe even a third one. And in those triads of support, 3 sentences create one wall. Okay, so you've got your roof, you've got your walls, you've got your fasteners, and then we've got the foundation, or we might also call that the floor of your house. And that's the wrap-up sentence, which equals a clear restatement in a new way, kind of in novel words, that clarify that you've proven your position. Good. And what you'll see is that as the week moves forward, I'll actually do some example paragraphs where I will write the paragraph right in a video, as we've been doing. Exactly. I'm just making changes and making corrections as I see as things develop here, which is a totally natural thing. Okay, so this little video is just to help you visualize the parts that you will need to have a powerfully and correctly supported paragraph. Excellent. Thank you very much.